Let me ask you, why is it that left-wing art looks, frankly, for lack of a better term,
mentally ill?
It's like these drawings come out of a factory. They all look the same. They all have the exact same themes, the same color designs, the same misshapen faces, the uncanny look to it. Why is this?
This creator goes by the name Remnant777, and recently he came across my feed in the form of a video titled "Why Left-Wing Art Looks So Mentally Ill." In said video, he seemingly dogs on the left, and I personally have no problem with this. My specific critiques lies with his opinions on art, or rather, the lack of, as at the end of his video he mentions this.
I didn't go into detail of what art is or what beauty is. I can demonstrate what those things are and prove it. But if I did, this video would be so long.
Most, if not all, that is flawed with this video stems from this oversight. How can you make any claim without establishing baseline first? Second of all, you do not cite the artists. And it's not like that will become a bigger issue as we proceed.
Foreshadowing is a literary device in which...
Then you follow this up by comparing apples to oranges, using their art and comparing it to artists like Michelangelo and Leonardo, masters of old. This is absurd. The only artist you have cited was Vlop, and yourself technically. And all of this circles back to the first problem, which is not establishing a point of reference. Now, I am trying to keep this cordial, but before we go any further, I do have a question for you. Are you lacking in understanding, or are you grifting? And I ask you this question because you make claims like the left can't discern between good and bad art, it's all just preference. These are your words.
But the reason why we see this abundance of shitty art coming from the left is because they don't have self-awareness. It's tied into their philosophy. They don't believe that there's good or bad art. They believe there are preferences, but you cannot objectively say one piece of art is good or bad, or one is better than the other. You can't. It's subjective.
But you have yet to back that claim. You have shown me nothing. My personal grievance with your video is that you touch upon some fairly interesting points, yet you do nothing with them. You take them nowhere. As an example, you bring up subjectivity and objectivity in art, but then you forego the nuance. You seem to think that it should be either or. It is either subjective or it is objective, and that it can't be both. You proclaim the left is stranded in mediocrity because of this mentality they hold, and that the right is exempt from this somehow.
Philosophy we're working with, and that kills motivation and growth. While on the other hand, if you have a right-wing person, someone who says there's good art, there's bad art, and it's not simply a subjective preference, he has a larger incentive to grow and develop the skill. And he's not going to show you all the times he messes up or creates hot garbage, because he knows that's trash.
Nice argument, Senator. Why don't you back it up with a source?
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
If you are correct, then this will be difficult to prove. Yet, this is followed up in your video with the next section that focuses on critique and delusion. This is where you state that whenever you post art, you should expect criticism and not only praise. This is correct. But then again, this is also the internet, meaning everyone is privy to their opinion. And if you share yours, they will share theirs. Not expecting that would also be delusional. As for this philosophy you claim the left holds, I can believe this, but preferably I would like to see an example, as this will strengthen your point. And how hard can it be to show this, if what you said is correct? But I digress. Now, this is where it will seem like I'm going for the throat, but do not forget that you are the one who left the gaps in the armor. So the thought process goes as follows. If you yourself are to be considered an example of what it looks like to be on the right, and your body of work is up to par and on level, then I'm sorry to say, but it is lacking, and therefore this debunks your philosophy. I do want to return and hopefully end off this point. I do know I'm harping on this, but I think it's fairly important. So, when citing the artist, it is also important to cite the masters, as one would think, maybe that's not necessary, as everyone knows who they are and knows what they've achieved. This would be incorrect, and I will elaborate. Whilst illustrating your point, you also bring up a comparison. You show Michelangelo's work and you show another piece of work. Most would assume that this is a Picasso, and they'd be wrong. You see, I am familiar with some of Picasso's work, and I do not recognize this painting. So, I gave it to a droid, and even the clanker came back confused. When it comes to Picasso, this is quite a missed opportunity, as not only was the man on the left, he joined the Communist Party in 1944, but when it comes to his art, not many know this, he was actually what I'd consider to be a mixed bag, as he was proficient in multiple styles, and even I can't deny his skill set. The work he's most famous for is his abstract and cubism. One could definitely make the argument that it seems mentally ill, but personally, I suspect substance abuse.
But that's what they're doing with their art. And I say art in quotations because that's just what we call any drawing people make today. You didn't make a drawing, you didn't make a sketch, you made art in quotations.
How dare they use an umbrella term that refers to multiple activities in order to describe their work? The absolute gall of these people. Okay. So, you never clarified what you consider to be art, making this a moot point. Besides that, this has been a heavily debated topic for years now, and has only gotten more complex as of late. You're not helping that case. And since you had nothing to add, I guess we'll move along.
They try and force this idea that beauty is something that they can equalize. If they simply call people beautiful, it makes them more beautiful or something like that. Beauty is whatever we call it. And we don't want ugly people to feel bad, right? So let's just lie.
Hey, whoa. My mama said I was a handsome boy, and you better watch your mouth.
If you think that these two images are just as beautiful or just as amazing, that's delusional and insane. That's mentally ill.
You doubled down? Do you seriously not see the irony in faceless channels discussing this topic? Yikes. You better be Prince Charming himself, is all I'm saying.
Most handsome in all the land.
I also caught you being a hypocrite for the second time.
And he's not going to show you all the times he messes up or creates hot garbage, because he knows that's trash. Everybody is a 10. Everybody is amazing. Unless you disagree with them, then they call you ugly. Beauty is subjective to these people. I made a video talking about how beautiful women are crazy. A lot of the comments simply said beauty is subjective.
Isn't that what you just did? I wonder if this will become a pattern. Now sure, you didn't outright say it, but we both know you might as well have. You also never explained what you view as beautiful. I'm guessing we're speaking surface level. And for this example, I've decided we'll use the general standard of the West. Now, here are 4 actors that fit the standard. If you don't like any of them, you immediately disprove your own point. If you like all of them, that's kind of the point, as this is an objective standard, and I would imagine that you might prefer one over the other, also proving that subjectivity and objectivity can coexist, especially when it comes to subjects like beauty. The same logic can be applied to art. Now, if you didn't know this, that's kind of how these terms work. Objectivity is rooted in facts, and subjectivity is based on feelings. Now, this is not to say that you can't make the argument that you did. I think it's an interesting argument to try and take up, but you've proven that you can't follow through, as you also privated your video. As of today, it's the 30th, by the way. And that also adds to your hypocritical actions. But let's now do what you failed to with your video. That would be proving a subjective to be objective, and of course weaponizing it. I'll also be using your video as the example for this, so I do apologize in advance, but you've made it fairly easy, so how can I not? Objectively, your video is subjective. It is an opinion. Not only that, but you format your video like an analysis, yet it comes across more like a complaint. Rooted in feeling and void of any substantial proof, except for your personal anecdotes. You also tried to sweep it under the rug. This brings into question your credibility and ultimately makes you look spineless. Now this brings up another interesting point that I personally find fascinating, being that objectivity can also be a collective opinion rather than rooted in fact, and I do have reason to suspect your video of attempting to do this. You see, if you can convince enough people to believe something, then sure enough, that will become the truth.
Themselves by calling them beautiful to feel good about the things that they make. It's not honesty.
So, for the next section, we'll be looking at what your video got correct.
Frankly, the majority of art is dominated by the left. People who are higher in openness and creativity predominantly tend to be more left-wing.
Sure, I've been to college. Yeah, I'll give you this one.
Many answers to it. One of them has to do with the fact that whenever you get into art, it's to be expected that you make drawings that look like this. It's pretty common.
This is correct, and it shows that we separate the masters from the intermediate or novice level artists, meaning that there is an objective standard when it comes to art.
Your drawings by default are going to look really bad. And if you want to draw something on a higher level, you have to understand that thing you're drawing. You have to understand the anatomy.
You are correct, sir!
Yes, studying anatomy would be a great fundamental to add to the arsenal, but I'd recommend starting off with the elements and principles of art. As for the examples you put on display,
Make a portrait, you have to understand the skull, the muscles.
I'm guessing this is to establish a level of expectation. You don't outright state that, but I'm assuming that's what it is. I'm not even gonna say it. But we have Leonardo's anatomy sketches to the right, we have Wang Ling in the center, and as for the image on the left, immediately the cervical and the hand grabs my attention. Not only that, but I also know who this is trying to imitate. So, if you didn't know, this image is in fact an example of AI. Machine for one, my guy. This work is actually based off a famous painter known as Van Gogh. Specifically his work titled Skull of a Skeleton with Burning Cigarette. Yeah, he was also actually mentally ill. He's quite well known for that, as a matter of fact. Unfortunately, we can only speculate as to his political stance, as he was quite a hermit. Besides that though, his work is still renowned to this very day. And finally, let's address the elephant in the room. Now for this, I grabbed one of the first images I saw in your video that you used as an example. And throughout the video, these are the types of statements you use to describe these artworks.
It's like these drawings come out of a factory. They all look the same. They all have the exact same themes, the same color designs, the same misshapen faces, the uncanny look to it, a large amount of weird art that's almost childlike looking, or at least not intellectually disabled like this, of shitty art coming from the left. This looks like hot garbage. Why wouldn't they post their hot garbage shamelessly? Whenever I make my shitty crayon drawings, weird art style that looks intellectually stunted, as if a child made it, or an adult that is mentally impaired. Art looks, frankly, for lack of a better term, mentally ill.
Sure, it's funny, but a proper critique that does not make.
If you're showcasing your art and you're opening up yourself to positive praise, you should also be opening yourself up to criticism.
Not only did your video fail with its analysis, as I still don't know why these images look like this. The only things I can recall is that you mentioned something about a weird philosophy and that they might be beginner level. Then you also mentioned that it kills motivation and something about being honest. And honestly, the difference between critiquing and criticizing something is the same as that of a knife and a dagger. One can be used as a tool, whereas the other has a specific intention behind it and is usually driven by malice. And as for your concern when it comes to motivation,
that's the philosophy we're working with, and that kills motivation and growth.
Discipline is usually the correct answer to this. I also find the opposite from what you mentioned to be the case, as it is usually the masters who discourage me.
It's because they don't have self-awareness.
When you've put your all into your work and realize that you can't compare or even come close to what's out there, now that is disheartening. Or it can be encouraging. It can serve as aspiration and reminder of what you aim to accomplish. You see, it's all about perspective. As always, thanks for watching.